welcome to Tales She Told Me, a podcast featuring ordinary women who have overcome and done extraordinary things. I'm your host, Farrah Haidar. Joining me today is Dr. Lynn Carey. When Lynn was 15 years old, she had an unnecessary spinal surgery that left her sicker. That led her to search for answers. Eventually, she became a chiropractor. In her 18 years of being a chiropractor, Lynn has refined her thinking around health, stress, and how we can heal. Lynn, thank you for being here today. And I'm sure that brief bio doesn't do your story justice. So I kind of want to jump right in. Tell me about the spinal injury when you were 15.
All right. So nice to be here, Farrah. Thank you for having me. That's kind of when it all began. I was diagnosed with scoliosis at 14. They wanted me to wear a brace so that my spine wouldn't curve anymore till I was done growing, which could have been till I was 18, 19 years old. And the brace was awful. So when an orthopedic surgeon offered, hey, you would be a perfect candidate for this surgery and you'd be done in 6 months, I was all in. I didn't know I only knew the medical world. That's what my family followed. So I had the surgery. They put Harrington rods in my spine and, I was out in 10 days from the hospital and it was the end of August. I was back in school right after Labor Day, like normal. And everything supposedly was a success. But eventually my health was really deteriorating. I was sick all the time. The pain started. But no doctor ever mentioned that it could be because of the surgery. They never connected dots. All they did was give me either an antibiotic or a muscle relaxer, painkiller, something. And really, those things didn't work. It just kept making me sicker. And I would ask the doctor, why do I keep getting sick? And nobody would connect the dots. So it was just kind of a very depressing time. I was already depressed by what I was being shown life was. I hated school, working after school, things like that, and just feeling so bad, which probably exasperated feeling so bad. It was like a catch-22. It's like the chicken before the egg, which causes which, feeling bad and depressed. And so I was in college trying to find myself, because I was told you have to go to college to be successful, and I didn't like it. Even though I worked really hard and I was an A student, it just was a struggle. And someone gave me the pamphlet on chiropractic and said, the power that made the body heals the body. And I was like, why hasn't anyone told me this all this time? And it began my journey there.
So you definitely think that it was the surgery that made you sicker. Elaborate a little bit, like how do you connect the two? Like was it because there was a foreign object in your body? What was it?
Yeah. So now that I understand as a chiropractor is your spine is vital to health because it's really just the tool to protect your nervous system, right? Your skull bone protects your brain. All the vertebrae protect your spinal cord, and through the vertebrae, your nerves exit through. So this is how your brain communicates to your body. It's like the wiring, the electricity of the body. The messages go back and forth. What they tried to do was straighten my spine some. They tried to fuse it. They cut off parts of my spine called the spinous processes to place the Harrington rods in. And then they sprinkled the bone chips down my spine to fuse it because they didn't want it to move anymore because it wasn't an S shape. It was crooked. So that was their philosophy to straighten it so it didn't move anymore and to fuse it. So it's just, to me now, it's just so ludicrous that this still happens today. But this is that's their solution for scoliosis. They never consider what is the spine doing. They don't look at the person as a whole. They're always looking at you in part and how can they fix the part. And I think that's the missing key piece is they're not looking at how it affects everything.
Yeah, that's interesting because I actually have a 13-year-old and she got screened for scoliosis and I was told, oh my God, she might have scoliosis. And thankfully her pediatrician said, no, she's fine. Like she does not have scoliosis, thank God. But I do have a friend of hers that actually does wear a brace. So if you could go back now, what would you do differently?
I would have got adjustments. Definitely been under a chiropractic care. Maybe I would have homeschooled. I don't know. I would have got out of school. I was very stressed in what my family was showing me life was. So I think there's an emotional component because there is the emotional side of scoliosis is that you feel like you're being pulled in two directions. And that really fits my life. It could be between your parents. My dad died when I was 12. My mom was here. Like they had very different viewpoints of life, I believe. And I also felt like there had to be more to life. But yeah, I was told I was crazy. This is it. You have to work hard, struggle, and all this. So I was definitely pulled in a couple of the directions. So I think the emotional part would have had to been taken care of along with getting the body work done and the adjustment. Um,
Okay.
no, but at the same time, would I have changed anything because of that experience? It totally freed me with my health and my body and how I live today. So it's a blessing in that way.
So it totally freed you. So you're in college, someone gives you a chiropractic pamphlet. What made you kind of say, yeah, this is it? You know?
Really, ignorance is bliss because I know what I know now. It was like a God call, but at the time, it was just the first time I heard truth. And chiropractic was enough of a framework that it looked like a legit enough career to pursue.
Hmm.
It always walked two worlds for me. It was like became this spiritual journey for me, but it was enough in the mainstream to bridge the gap while I made that crossover. I really believe that. So it really just was the first time I felt spoken to,
Hmm.
and I just went. And I look at that because I didn't know what I was getting into, really. So it was one of those things that it was the first time I felt that inspiration, like that God call. And I went and it changed my life.
Yeah, so I would say that chiropractic definitely kind of bridges that, it's very holistic and yet still kind of accepted in the mainstream. It definitely bridges that two-way kind of thing. Out of all the things you've learned in your chiropractic career, what is the one that kind of appealed to you the most?
That the body healed itself. And it totally, once I understood that there's a whole new perspective on how to get in tune with your body and understanding what the body's trying to do and honoring that there's an inner wisdom running the body. I mean, as we're sitting here,
Mhm.
your body has millions of functions. All our organs are working. We can never consciously control all that. So symptoms are a way of the body heals itself, rebalances itself, repairs itself, also giving you a message if something's really chronic and out of whack in your life. So the tools that it gave me just for life, and it taught me not to be afraid of the body and what it's trying to do. I'm not afraid when I get symptoms. Now I understand how to listen to my body. So it empowered me fully. And it's just started to say, hey, if there's a new way to look at health, there's a new way to look at everything in life than what the mainstream is telling us. So really it gave me that empowerment to keep questioning other things and
Yeah.
find answers in other ways.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. So you were in college. You got handed this chiropractic pamphlet. Were you still in pain at that point? Were you still being
Oh, yeah.
okay?
Yeah,
Uh,
it wasn't like I went and got an adjustment and it changed everything. It was a
no, of
long
course not.
journey. It was probably a couple of years till I was balanced out where I didn't have chronic pain. And so the reason that I gave it the time is because I was in this cocoon of chiropractors who were giving me the emotional support, like, hey, it took you a while to get to this point. It just takes time. And you know what? At that point, all I had was time because I gave 5 years to the medical world and I
Mhm.
saw that there was no other way. Like, I really just felt like I was left out to dry. Like, I think the only thing that made me was that I was young. You have youth on your side. You have that energy that you have more power to deal with, I think,
Yeah.
the the body trauma because you're not dealing with regular life in that respect where it becomes really heavy. So I
Yeah.
had that, but nobody had answers for me. And when they said you take time, it made sense. And then I was learning, so I was changing my mindset as I was getting the body adjustment, right?
Hmm.
So all these things were coming together, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, anything can heal. I understand why. And I lost the fear that I couldn't get better,
Yeah.
and once that shifted, everything changed, but it was a period of years. And I would go through different symptoms and different things that would happen. It wasn't like a black and white thing. So that's why I always tell people it takes time. Sometimes the journey to health, you may get worse before you get better.
Mhm.
And I think that freaks a lot of people out.
Well, also, I think your body changes over time, right? So I have chronic illnesses as well, like skin conditions and stuff like that. And I remember when I was like 13, 14, and 15, obviously there was the hormonal layer as well and that at that age. But I remember them telling me your nutrition is totally not linked to any of your skin condition stuff, right? It's not linked. And instinctively, I'm like, that just doesn't make sense, right? It just does instinctively. Like
It
I'm
doesn't.
putting something in my body and stuff is coming out of my body. My body's react like there's probably a link there, right? And for so instinctively, like when I was 18 or 19, I just went on a completely vegan diet. And again, I'm not promoting a vegan diet. I actually don't think it's suitable for everyone, but I just did that for a little bit, or vegetarian, I should say, more of a vegetarian diet. And my skin changed. And I was like, okay, so there's a link there. And I know now, like after 20 years, 20, 30 years of dealing with it, that yeah, there are definitely things that set off my skin more. Um, and ironically, at different times of like in my cycle, it'll be worse or better. Like I know I can handle certain types of cheese in this specific manner. My body is okay with it. But if I do it like early in the morning, I'm gonna die. Like that's I just know. Anyway, so I do agree with you. So you went through this. Um, now you've had 18 years of being a chiropractor, correct? So in those 18 years, you've probably seen a lot of people, a lot of cases. What are some of the eye-opening things that happened to you as you opened your practice and as you've practiced these past 18 years?
I think there was a couple of different aspects going on. Number one, I saw that people were not connecting their emotional and mental states with what happens in the body. And they're so
Mhm.
connected. People would just come in and be like, oh, this pain just happened, or I'm having this issue, but everything else is perfect in my life, and I'm like, and then they would describe their day or their life. And I'm like stressed out listening to it. And I realized that that became the norm. Like we're living in a very high stress society, this rat race society that's
Mhm.
causing people to be very disconnected from their body. And the only time they'll stop or slow down is when they're in crisis, especially physically. So I saw that. When I opened my practice, again, I was ignorance on fire. I really just wanted to get out and change the world. I thought this is going to help people. They need to know to heal themselves. And a lot of the stuff that the medical world is doing isn't really good for them. And I realized a lot of people really didn't want to hear what I had to say, but I just wanted to open up on my own. I wanted to practice as a principal chiropractor. I didn't see that there was another chiropractor around that was pure chiropractic in my eye. But nobody taught me about business or money.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh my God, like it was such an eye opener for me. And I just started to read. I had to teach myself. And I came across a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yeah. Very famous.
And it changed my life. It was like when I found chiropractic, it was like that light bulb moment went on. And I'm like, I knew there had to be a different way. Like this makes sense. First time I
Mhm.
heard it making sense, and I connected this finance. He talked about becoming financially free, having passive income, multiple streams of income so that you're not always trading time for money. And I saw that this is one of the key factors that was causing stress in people's lives.
Mhm.
They didn't have enough time. They didn't have enough money. Couldn't take time off to heal because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to do alternative practices or buy organic, all these things. And I thought, this doesn't help. This is insanity. And so I just saw it was this catch 22 that was keeping people in this loop of chronic stress and keeping them sick.
Now, I'm sure there are times when you definitely are like you need real like not real, but you need medical care, right? Like traditional medical care. I'm sure there are moments when you have that. Um, but do you think like for the average person, like what would you tell someone who's really just starting off on this journey of trying to find, more health?
I think a great place to start is get clear on what you want. I always ask people the question, are you living your desired life? Like, what's good in your life? What's not good in your life? And some people don't know what they want. Maybe they do know what they want, but they just think it's out of reach. So they pushed it aside.
Mhm.
And that's probably the worst thing you can do because those dreams, those inspirations, those passions, is God talking to you. That is your immune system. That's the life force that flows through your body. It comes on at 100% when you're inspired. So if you're living a humdrum life, you're doing things you think you should and not living your passions, eventually it's going to catch up to you. That's not true well-being. So with the journaling, ask the question. I would say journal ideas that you have. You could start, even something simple as writing a gratitude list, like making List of things that you appreciate every day, little things that inspire you that make you happy, because it's just rewiring your brain to focus on what you want and what you like and what gives you those butterflies in your stomach, that excitement, that little bit of joy or peace. That's the stuff you want to start paying attention to. And the more you start paying attention to the little things, you're going to get bigger answers, and write down the things that seem like that would be my perfect life, even if you think it's out of reach, because eventually you might get the next small step to take. Meet the next person who can help you get an answer, listen to the right podcast or find the book that'll lead you to the next step. I believe that's all there. If you know that you're in a situation where your body is struggling, check out alternative healers, find, it's not that they're going to fix you, but they're great mentors to guide you through the process. It's getting body work any kind, whether it's an adjustment, a massage, acupuncture, a naturopath, anything that can help you get connected to the energy of your body so you can see how you're flowing it or not flowing it. That's key. That's a great step. So they're just some of the things that you can start with.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's common for a lot of people that, when they're in their teens, they have this big dream or calling, and it's often beaten out of them, um, for whatever reason, or they're redirected or do something more practical, or it gets hard, or for some people, they don't have the privilege it takes. They have to work as they go through college, and they can't do some of the things that would do them do them to their calling. Then they end up like at 40, 45, kind of it's still calling. Everyone thinks it goes away. It never goes away. I always tell people it'll never, ever go away. If you have that kind of calling in your soul, it just doesn't go away. You can live with it forever and never respond to it, but it's not going to go away. So, but what would you say to someone who's like in that 40, 45, had a calling, didn't do it, and now just says like, it's too late?
It's never too late.
Yeah.
Yet I think we can reinvent ourselves at any time in life. I believe that ageism thing is so insane that we succumb to as a society because it's just a number. Forget the number. You have a fresh start every day. And that, you following your dreams, is the magic of life. Because the obstacles that you go through, the things that you have to overcome, that's you getting back to yourself and clearing limiting beliefs. The only obstacles are our limiting beliefs, but they become very real and become very normal. They become very much our reality. So to break those down and to change your perspective is the work. So, and to open up to the magic and synchronicities of life and things that you would have never thought of when you're stuck in your limiting belief.
So, what would you say to someone who's just like, listen, I just don't have that big a dream. I just want to live an average life. By the way, I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, but I just want to live an average life and grow old, and it's over.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's what I said. If you're living your desired life, I don't think there's any issue. Because as long as you feel joy and peace every day, how much joy and peace do you feel versus worry and distress? That's the key.
Yeah.
You want to feel the peace, the joy, and the inspiration. You want to have interest and things that make you want to get out of bed in the morning instead of just existing and going to sit in front of the television every day. I mean, you gotta live. And I think there's a fine line between existing and actually living.
Yeah, I do too. I do think that, though, a lot of people don't know what they want. Again, not out of really fault of their own. I think life just consumes you. It consumes you, especially as you grow older and you have responsibilities and other people to take care of. Now, I believe you're a mother as well, correct? And one son? Am I right with
Mhm.
that? Okay.
Yes, he's 17.
17. Awesome. So you've really been through it. Uh, no, I mean, I always like when there are mothers with younger children, there's so much they haven't experienced yet. And I say this as someone who talked about motherhood when my kids were very young, and now as they've grown older, I'm like, wow, there was so much I didn't know. But like, how have you chosen to raise him, right? Like, given your experiences with your own childhood and past.
Yep. Well, I was raised in a very medical world, and I saw things that I don't think are necessary. And I also felt like I was never heard. And I had to basically, as an adult, I realized I knew that I knew. So my voice was suppressed, but I knew I had to relearn what I already knew as a child because they beat it out of me, like the family, the education, the religion. They told me I was wrong and I wasn't. So I knew he was going to come in as a pure soul. So that means for me, no interference. So he was born at home, no vaccines, no circumcision. He's never even been to a medical doctor because he's never had to go. And I've always honored his voice, always listened to what he wanted, followed his interests, encouraged him. Why do you think that way? What's your opinion? And because of that, he's very clear on what he wants, what he likes and what he doesn't like. He knows how to make a choice for himself, which I see most adults even can't do that because they're
Yeah.
used to being told what to do or looking for the approval of someone. He doesn't have that. And I thought, wow, if we were all able to just be raised without interference, to be true to who we are, we'd have a lot more empowered people in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a hard balance though, right? Like sometimes it is a hard balance. No, I agree with you. My kid is turning 14 and I have another that's 10 and it's sometimes it's hard to just step back and just let them, you know. I mean, they have their own opinions and stuff, just accept, "Oh, okay. That's who they are, what they want to do. That's great." You know? But it's can be difficult because you feel like, "Oh my God, what if something happens?" or, you know. Um, I guess did you like I don't want people to walk away and think that your healing journey was just so straightforward, right? Because I'm sure there were setbacks and struggles. Can you talk a little bit about what struggles you faced in your healing journey?
Yep. I mean, there was times I guess people look at me now and can't believe that I went through the pain that I did. But there was years that my legs would give out when I was in the shower and fall. The pain was so bad. I couldn't sit, stand, land. I had to take tests in front of the classroom to stand up because I couldn't sit. And on my healing journey, one of the times that I really remember that emotions connect to your symptoms was when my chiropractor was leaving school. I was in the beginning stages of chiropractic school. He was a higher student, right? He was getting ready to graduate and he really helped me that last year. He was leaving, he was graduating, and he gave me his last adjustment before he left and my back went out. And I thought, what the heck? What is going on here? And I realized I was terrified of him leaving because I was dependent on him. Who's going to
Mm.
adjust me now? He understood me. He understood my spine and he's leaving. And I thought, oh, it wasn't that he gave me the wrong adjustment. It's my emotional connection to him. And so that was eye opening, which was
Right.
very empowering because I saw how much emotions and mental state, are attached. So there was different things. And then, I remember the next year I was studying really hard for this test and it was like a year-long process and I was getting headaches every day. I was getting adjusted, massages, everything. And it just wasn't clearing. And it stopped after I took the test. It's like I just couldn't release the attachment to the test. So I saw how much what goes on in your life really comes out in your body if you don't have an outlet for it. So
Mm.
there was just some of the stages that I went through. And, you go through different stages. Like I remember even the first few years in practice, I always feel like I got a headache on Monday. Why was that? Like, I guess I was just this over like hoping that the week was okay, like stressed out, doing everything right, getting everything ready for the week. And it would manifest as a headache.
Mhm.
And so I remember for a period of that, I was dealing with that. So it's like you deal with different things in your body as you deal with different things in your life. But once you correlate that, it can be very freeing it teaches you, if you listen to your body, it teaches you how to learn to let go and to really be free in your actions during the day and releasing that emotional attachment and that struggle.
Yeah, it's I guess my question to you is obviously 18 years as a chiropractor, you've seen a lot of people come through your practice. And do you see that in them as well? Like, do those lessons echo in the experience of your patients?
Oh, definitely. But the problem that I would get frustrated with is I saw most people wouldn't do the work on themselves in between our visits. It was like they just wanted to come in and vent on me about their problem, get the adjustment, so I fix it. They go back to the same life. I'm like, well, did you read the book? Did you make this change? No. you
Mhm.
know, and I thought I didn't see people really doing active work. And I thought people need to learn to adjust themselves. You need to learn to adjust your mindset, really live fully. And that's where my passion became. I really wasn't looking to become a doctor to fix people and to be there in that respect. It was like, let me empower you in your lifestyle for the people who really want to. Not everybody wants to, and that's fine. You
Mm.
know, some people like playing the doctor role where just come in every week, I'll adjust you, or every month, whatever, and let's just have small talk about life. And that's good for them. That's not what I signed up for. I really wanted to see people live fully, you know, and because that was my journey. I wanted to figure out every area of life, money, relationships, mindset. Who are we? What are we doing here to really create heaven on earth? That's my idea. And that's what I've been doing. So I've just been more passionate about helping people who are looking for that too.
Have you ever had an opportunity where someone had a real breakthrough where like you were struggling with them and then they had or someone that just wasn't doing the work and then they ended up doing it and all that?
Yeah, I remember one girl, she had two young kids too. She had a lot of back pain. And I remember the medical doctors couldn't wait to get their hands on her. They just wanted her to get the surgery or, you know. And I told her, I'm like, I wouldn't do it. I said, it might take you a while to heal because, you know, she was working. She was fully in the rat race with the two young kids, but, you know, didn't have the time. And, but she stuck with it. And it was probably like 6 weeks to a couple of months that she just started letting her body heal, getting adjustments, and she came out of it. And she said, thank God I didn't let them cut me.
Yeah.
But when you're in that fear, it's the turning point, that gripping fear when you have that pain, that diagnosis that this is it. Can you break through the fear
Mhm.
and have that empowering awakening? Can you do the work to get you through? Can you be with it? Can you be with that scary part? And then you have the breakthrough. I see it all the time.
Yeah. It's funny because I think people also go to doctors assuming that doctors will give them a full menu of options, right? Like that's kind of like going to a butcher, asking what to have for dinner and expecting to get vegetarian options. Like you're at a butcher. They're going to give you the meat options. That's what they do. That's what they're familiar with. So I think when you go to a doctor, they're gonna give you the options they're familiar with. There are probably plenty of options that they're not, and I think just part of being an educated consumer is figuring out what other options there are on the table. And thankfully, with the way the world is now, we have access to so much information, you can probably figure it out. Um,
No, that's so true. And I saw that. It's part of my chiropractic education. I had to basically get the education of a medical doctor because we had to pass all the boards to get our license and all these things. And I saw, you know what they get? They don't even get nutrition. They get, let me label you. Let me tell me all your symptoms so I can group them together as a label, give them a big medical term so we can know how to drug it from pharmaceuticals or cut it out. That's really all they have looked at the body from the outside in. Like, oh, it's still like the germ theory, like you're going to catch something. Whereas we were very holistic, like, what's the body trying to do? Let's honor the integrity of the body and go all this direction first before we ever put a drug in you or very last resort, cut it out. So
yeah.
I only tell people, become your own best doctor. Get the opinions of different medical doctors. Get the opinions of different natural remedies or holistic doctors. And then do what's right for you. Like, you have to believe in it. You have to have faith in it. It has to resonate with you at that point in your life.
I also think you have to be willing to do the work because every solution has work, right? Like, let's just take weight loss. I see a lot of people that go and like they do bariatric surgery and stuff. Great, like that's the choice they made. Fine. But then they won't change their eating habits. I'm like, it's just not going to work. You're going to lose
Yeah.
some weight, short term, and then you're just going to gain it back because the surgery isn't the end all be all. There's work around that. There's additional things you need to do. Um, yeah, and I do think that the medical community, just because again, I have some chronic illnesses and stuff. So I read a lot and I research a lot. And they're really having almost an awakening moment where a lot of the suppositions they had about health and about especially when it comes to weight loss, by the way, it's just blowing up in their face. They're like, none of the data upholds what we've taught for generations, right? The data just isn't there. And now they're doing all this reevaluation and obviously new meds as well. But even outside of new meds, just new philosophies around diet and exercise and stuff like that. So it's quite interesting, actually. I think we're kind of in this renaissance moment in the medical field because we're just getting sicker. I mean, if you look at the stats, they're staggering, right?
At one point, I don't see this now. They might have took it down because of all these censorship. But at one point, when I was first in chiropractic school and first in practice, the third leading cause of death was medical malpractice. All the mistake thinking and all the wrong diagnosis, all the wrong treatment. And I thought, wow, people don't see this, and like the first was like heart disease and cancer, and they're both lifestyle. So it's like, how much more healthy could you be if you just change so much of what we're doing? That's changeable. So
Well, thank you. I mean, it's all very interesting. I think we could talk about this for hours. But now I get to ask you the question that I love to ask every guest, which is, what is a weird habit or ritual you have that makes your life more joyful?
I don't know if it's so weird, but it's just something that I love. I love a good cup of coffee. I love my coffee first thing in the morning or maybe mid-afternoon because it's my Zen time.
Mhm.
It's like my ritual. I just love to enjoy a good cup of coffee because I just get very peaceful. Some people are like, oh, I can't have coffee at night because I can't sleep. I don't even have, I wish I got the pep from the coffee. I don't. Like, I just enjoy the ritual and the taste of coffee and that peaceful moment.
Yeah, I do that too. I wake up earlier than everybody in my household to have that half an hour with my cup of coffee because it's so worth it. Anyways,
Awesome.
Lynn, it was a pleasure having you. And if you're out there and like to hear more from Lynn, you can check out her website at www.creatingmydesiredlife.com, where you can get her book, sign up for her emails, and learn more about a variety of classes she offers. All links in the show notes below. As always, I'd love to hear from you about this episode. What health concerns do you have? Hit me up on Instagram or Facebook at Farrah Haidar. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you'll get notified when a next episode is available. Also, I'm giving away a PDF of some of the best quotes we've had on the show. Beautifully designed to print and journal your thoughts. Email me at farrah@farrahhaidar.com and title it Quotes. Talk to you soon. Till then, chase your happy.